This year, Rare is back with sequels for two of its most loved franchises. After being in hibernation since the N64 days, Banjo-Kazooie is back with Nuts and Bolts, a vehicle-based platformer where you customize your vehicle with over 1,600 parts. Everyone's favorite exploding animals are set to return in Viva Pinata, Trouble in Paradise. This time, there's full drop-in, drop-out co-op play and around 100 pinatas to track down. Now you just have to find a place to put all this stuff.
Joining us for this hands-on exclusive, creative director from Microsoft Game Studios, Mr. Ken Lobb. Thank you so much for dropping by and bringing us Banjo-Kazooie, Nuts and Bolts. Now, I want to, you're going to be playing while I ask you some questions, but I know it's been a while since the last Banjo title came out. Now, what's it been up to? Where does this pick up from the last time?
So, Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts takes place 10 years after the original Banjo-Kazooie game. The idea now, though, is that you come at the beginning of the game, and your evil nemesis is a witch named Grunty. In the original two games, you fought against Grunty. She was the big bad boss. She kind of set up the whole idea of where you were going and what you were doing. This game, you've been sitting around lazy for a while and falling over. No problem. Let me get going back, and then I'll tell you.
There you go.
So, beginning of the game, you're kind of chubby and lazy. Your character decides that he's going to go after Grunty one more time. So you're getting ready to have a big fight. And along comes this big character named Lobb. He's the Lord of Games.
And he's the new character.
He's the new big boss.
Yes.
So this character has designed every game ever made. At least that's what he claims. And so he's decided that he's sick of watching Banjo and Grunty always fighting with each other. So what he's going to do is he's going to set you into his world where you and Grunty get to fight it out once and for all to determine who is the overall ruler of Spiral Mountain.
I know that this has changed things quite a bit since the 64 platformer came out. So I want to ask you about the control scheme. What's that like?
Okay, so just on the gameplay in general, it's pretty much the same as it's always been. Interestingly, what Rare decided to do when they started the game was, how can we build a platformer that encompasses the power of the next generation system? I mean, you can see the world that I'm flying around is absolutely massive.
Yeah.
If you go back into time to the N64, when you played the original Banjo game, the worlds were big for the time, but realistically they were small enough so that you could traverse them as an individual character. With this game, what they found was the worlds they could create were so big that they needed to come up with a way to get your character to move through the world more quickly. So what they did was they started this idea of, hey, what if Banjo was driving a bunch of vehicles around?
That makes sense, because, I was talking to Adam Sessler earlier, who, by the way, said this is one of his most favorite games of all time, and he was really excited about how massive the environments and worlds really are. And as you can see, we started off and there was these vehicles, and Nuts and Bolts actually lets you customize your own vehicles, and Adam was talking about how excited he was about that as well. So how many vehicles can we make in this game?
So virtually infinite amount of vehicles. You have over 1,000 different parts that you collect during the game. That's the kind of collectability aspect. So just to jump on that for half a second, one of the things that Banjo fans from the past remember is that Banjo was one of the first true collectathon games where the goal is the game is to move through the world and collect stuff.
Yeah.
This game, they decided, what if we take and make collection something that really builds on the overall player's experience? So by making the parts, the things that you collect, now I can take all these parts and I can literally build the moves for my character. Yes, there are some games out there where you can level design, and level design is a cool way to be creative.
Definitely.
This game, they took that another direction, though, and said, well, what if you could move design?
Yeah.
What if instead of unlocking moves for the bird in your backpack, which was the original Banjo-Kazooie, what if you could unlock new moves for your character? And to do that in the form of parts. So you move through the game, you collect all these parts, and then using the parts, you put them together and you build all kinds of crazy vehicles that you use to play the various challenges in the game. So in this case, I went over and I talked to Mumbo. He wants me to do something. He wants me to go run this little obstacle course.
So you go and create a vehicle for that?
So he gives you, there's default vehicles for every, if I can drive and talk at the same time. Excuse me, viewers.
So
there's a default vehicle.
He gives you a vehicle.
He gives you a default vehicle for every one of the challenges in the game. And then what you find, though, as you play through it is, well, heck, this vehicle's good, but I could make it go faster maybe by throwing on some rockets, or I could make it jump higher. So this vehicle already jumps. What if I could make it jump higher by adding a few more springs, or I could make it go faster by putting a bigger engine on? This allows the users to take user creativity into the idea of a platform game.
Now, I want to ask you about, which is really big for games nowadays, is will the game feature co-op or multiplayer?
Yeah, so we're obviously big fans of multiplayer at Microsoft. Most of the games that we work on are either versus co-op multiplayer, some form of thing you can do over live with your friends. So in Banjo, they've come up with an interesting idea. You don't co-op through the whole quest, But many of the challenges that are available in the game can be played multiplayer with your friends in either a cooperative or a competitive mode, so you can go up against your friends, or you can go on some of the other modes you have. I'm sitting in the water here, obviously. Other forms of races, other forms of challenges, like you can get together with 5 friends and play five-a-side soccer with vehicles. There's loop chases. There's collection quests that you can do, again, either competitively or cooperatively.
Well, that's what's so great about it. There's so many different worlds and environments and so many different, obviously an infinite amount of vehicles that you can create and so much you can do with this. But I just want to thank you so much for dropping by and giving us this exclusive look at the new Banjo-Kazooie. Now, when can we expect this game to hit store shelves?
This game is coming out this fall.
Now, am I correct in saying that the original comes out on Xbox Live soon?
Yes, very good. Thank you for
when
catching that. Yeah, so we're shipping the Xbox Live version of the original Banjo-Kazooie within the launch window. So
Awesome.
Sometime right around when we ship the game.
All right, so you guys can get both at the same time. We cannot wait, but right now we're going to head back over to Kevin.